All right. Hey, everybody. We are back. Another Monday morning podcast. Scott, you might have to talk so the microphone will pick you up.
I can talk right now. That it should be picking me up.
I hope so. This is going to be a very visually boring podcast looking at myself.
That's right. Keep talking.
Anyways, we are back. This is the Shut the Front Door podcast, or the podcast where we're going to talk about real estate. Good morning, Beth and Jimmy. Thank you for joining us. Jimmy, you at work again?
Hey, Jimmy. How's it going, man?
Yep. But we are live. We're live on now TikTok, Facebook. We are live on LinkedIn. We're trying to get this camera. If you're watching us live right now, it's just me on here. It should be panning over to Scott here shortly.
And if I start talking, it should find me, right? What's the deal?
There it is. All right. Anyways, Scott, you brought up another interesting topic for us this morning. So what do we got? And Beth says, great topic, by the way.
So, yeah, we want to talk about backup offers today. One of my favorite things to go over with people. I find that a lot of buyers are reluctant to do backup offers. Mm-hmm. I don't quite understand it. We try to explain it the best we can. So, Johnny, why don't you give a quick rundown of what a backup offer actually is?
Yep, and thanks, Jimmy, for confirming that you can hear us. But yeah, backup offer is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a backup offer to something that is in front of it. Now, it's not just as simple as just being in second place. You can have 3, 4, 5 backup offers. But what it means is that any offer that is in front of you, as a primary, a secondary, third, whatever, they have to fall apart in a specific order. But if that deal should fall apart, you're able to take the space of that primary offer.
That's exactly right. So, the scenario I see all the time goes like this. Someone calls, this actually just happened to me this weekend. Client calls about a property that is about to go under contract. We have a verbally accepted offer. Mm-hmm. And so they say, well, that's disappointing. You know, we've missed out on 2 or 3. It's really frustrating. I saw that it was pending a couple times. I guess if it falls apart, just let us know. Right? And so I say, well, hey, why don't you make a backup offer? Because that way, you know, I'll let you know, but you'll be next in line automatically. Well, we don't want to mess with that. Mm-hmm. You know, just let us know if it falls apart. Well, here's the problem. What if somebody else comes in and makes a backup?
Right.
I actually had 3 simultaneous contracts recently with a backup offer. 2 of them still have backup offers. The third one, guess what happened? First deal fell apart. That backup is now the primary. So there's just no reason not to. One of the elements that we have to clarify is that when you make a backup offer, it's the only type of contract we write that can be unilaterally canceled, mm-hmm. meaning that the buyer who's in second position as the backup can pull it back off the table. So that was one of the objections I got from the client yesterday was, well, you know, we want to keep looking and we don't want to be tied into a contract because, you know, what if we find something else we like? Well, Johnny, what happens then?
Well, you just said it, unilateral. So for those that may be unfamiliar with the term, uni meaning one. It's a one direction type of contract where you can, as the offer, I guess the offerer, the buyer, can just say, hey, we found something else. So yeah, in a backup scenario, there's really only a few other alternatives. One, that primary contract that you were up against closes and then you have to find something else anyways. Or it doesn't close, you get to be the primary spot. Or you find something else that you like better and you move forward. So there's really, you know, kind of 3, maybe 4th alternatives, but that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so for the person making the backup offer, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Yep. Right? You put yourself in position, you prevent someone else from coming in. You know, in my opinion, the worst case scenario is you don't do that. You say, let me know when it falls apart. Someone else comes in and makes a backup offer, and now you've missed out on the house twice.
Right, and we have this happen very frequently. I mean, it's not one of the, so Beth even says, great topic. This just happened to us as of last week, and it's what's the average about right now? 1 out of every 5 deals doesn't make it to closing.
Approximately, yeah.
And that could be for a variety of reasons, for title issues, for inspections, for appraisal, for just buyer finance. Stuff happens.
I just had one recently. In fact, it's a house that you have a contract on now. Mm-hmm. That it was a cash deal, good to go, no inspection issues whatsoever. Well, the buyer in that case was elderly, hit a health issue, and had to pull out of the contract.
You just never know.
So you just literally never know. I often hear clients, you know, sellers usually will say, so is it a done deal? Can we call it a done deal? And I'm like, well, until you're handed a check and you hand over the keys, it's not a done deal.
Everything is for sale until it's no longer for sale.
That's exactly right. Now, sometimes I'll say it's all good unless someone gets hit by a bus, we're going to close. But guess what? Sometimes people get hit by buses.
Yeah, that's so. We don't want them to. But no, you're right. I mean, and COVID, when it first hit, caused a ton of messes with this type of stuff because of things, and not just even COVID, but this is even political stuff. Remember when the government had shut down and people had government-backed loans and they were on hold for 2-3 weeks?
Yeah.
That put, if that expiration date, if that closing date comes and goes, let's just say, because we're talking about it from a buyer perspective, there's massive incentive from a seller perspective as well to have this in place, because one, if you have a backup offer in place, the primary buyer usually walks a little bit of a tighter line, right? They're not going to be as maybe, let's say, demanding during the inspection phase, or they're going to be a little bit more lenient. Maybe that broken window isn't such a big deal after all, because if they don't want to buy the house over a broken window, maybe the second buyer will.
Yeah, so I believe from both parties' perspective, from the only person who doesn't like a backup offer is the first buyer.
Right.
But the seller, I often tell my sellers once we go under contract, so we'll go under contract and there'll be another showing scheduled. And they're like, oh, why are we still showing the house? And I say, well, the best thing I can do for you now is get you another offer. Because of what you just described. When the first buyer starts to get a little bit squirrely, they start making demands, they want something fixed, they start dragging things out. If the seller has a backup offer in their back pocket, they're like, look, we're not going to do those repairs. We have somebody else who wants the house. So either buy it or don't. If you don't, we're going to sell it to somebody else. And when they have that person in their back pocket, they're really in a strong position.
Right.
Now, for the backup buyer, think about what happens there. I often describe it as the presence of a backup offer can put pressure on the first offer.
Sure.
It's more likely to fall apart. So when that client says, well, let me know if it falls apart, well, guess what? If the seller knows you're waiting in the wings and you have a signed contract, they may be more likely to kill the first deal because they know they have a good buyer waiting for them. If they don't have that backup offer, they might extend things a little bit longer or renegotiate or jump through some hoops to try to get it done.
Right.
So again, if you're that second person and you missed out on the house, get the backup offer in place, because that puts pressure on the first deal. It prevents someone else from buying it from out from under you a second time. And if you find something else you like in the meantime, you can buy that instead. There's literally no downside.
Yeah, there isn't. It's just and you just took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to say, you can continue your search as if nothing has changed. Absolutely, everything in your daily life, in your search, just operate the same way you did yesterday.
100%. One other element I'll mention that can totally apply is appraisal issues. So now imagine that we have 2 full price offers in place on a property, and the appraisal comes in low on the first buyer. Well, I'm going to look at that appraiser and say, you can't tell me this property isn't worth what we have it priced at, because I've got 2 people willing to pay it.
Right.
And the definition of value is everything's worth what someone's willing to pay. And so again, it's more insulation for the seller. So there's another scenario where, let's say that full price contract, say $260,000. Well, the appraisal comes in at $250,000. With no backup offer in place, the seller is in a position where they're either going to have to renegotiate or roll the dice, put the house back on the market, hope for higher appraisals next time. But if there's a backup offer sitting there, they have very little to lose. They're going to kill the first deal and move on to the second one.
And not just that, but even the backup offer, or not the backup offer, the backup market, that comes with immense adverse marketability. And it's one of those things that I always liken it to when the one summer where Heinz came out with the colored ketchup, and it lasted all of 2 months because it turned out that visually it was unappealing to eat green ketchup or purple ketchup or whatever it was that was out there. It was a fun idea, but it didn't last very long, because seeing is believing.
For sure.
When buyers see something that makes its way back to the market, even if it's through no fault of the seller, if it was a bad appraisal, or in this case your past buyer with health issues, it doesn't matter. Back on market status has a adverse marketability to it that buyers kind of scratch their heads and get a little bit iffy. So this backup offer for the seller side, it never makes it back to the market. It stays as a pending status.
That's the exact conversation I had yesterday, because the particular house we're talking about has been under contract twice. And the buyer started kind of beating me up about it. So, well, there must be something wrong with it, or is it not appraising? Because I think it's overpriced.
Sure.
Well, it's not. It's not, because we keep selling it for full price. The first one, the buyer had a technical issue, had nothing to do with the house, and the second one, we had some health issues. So you're right. The going back on the market is risky for a seller.
Well, it means taking on that adverse marketability, then expecting an equal to or better than offer from the previous offer, then going through the processes that the one buyer had just gone through and expecting different results. So if it was an inspection issue that caused it to go through, or an appraisal issue, you're putting yourself in that, all of this while wearing that adverse marketability.
Yeah, 100%. So we believe very strongly in the backup offer. It's also why, if you're a buyer out there and you're poking around on different websites, and this particular experience yesterday, she said to me, well, I look every single day. I check morning and afternoon and evening on Realtor.com and Zillow to see what's new out there and what's going on. Well, I explained to her that, first of all, those are not our preferred sites, and you're not going to get very good information on Realtor.com and Zillow, so stop doing that. But secondly, a lot of stuff may be marked contingent, and that could have a couple different meanings. The third-party sites like Realtor.com and Zillow are notoriously inaccurate and slow to update those things. And so there may be a perfect house out there that this buyer who tells me they're very motivated and really wants to find something, they also don't have a buyer's agent. That's a different topic.
Sure.
They're checking every day on the websites. Well, I bet you if they followed our advice, we'd probably have them in a house by now. And probably one of the ones that they let go that, in their words, was perfect, but they missed out on it. You know, a lot of times we can put you in position to get that house you're looking for. And the answer is not to scroll Realtor.com and Zillow every single day and scroll past everything that's marked pending and contingent. That's not going to get you there.
Right. And the general public misses this, and this is probably for a different podcast, but for things like Zillow and Realtor.com, the general public uses them as a main platform because that's all they know.
Sure.
They don't know what the MLS truly is or how it works. These sites are IDX-fed websites. They're syndicate websites, which means that they take information from a central hub like ourselves and then apply it to their sites, and they sell the information back to us. The biggest scam that no one's really ever picked up on. But there can be a delay between 1 day to 1 week at times, depending on how fast something syncs, right? So we've seen it where oftentimes, man, that house just went for sale and it's pending within the first 24 hours. How'd that happen? No, it was sold 3 days ago. You just didn't know about it.
That's right. Which, you know, a little plug right now for our newsletter that we've recently started a month or so ago. We are actually hitting coming soon listings every Monday morning. If you are in our database, in our database getting our newsletter, you're going to see listings that literally don't exist anywhere else. Today, as a matter of fact, we have a newsletter going out that's got 2 new listings that both, I believe, are going to be very hot. One of them is, well, I guess we can't talk about it just yet, right?
No, it's not coming soon just yet.
Later today. Later today we will be. But if you are on our list, you're going to get those listings, and they're not on Realtor.com, they're not on Zillow. And by the time they hit those 2 sites, they're probably going to be sold. So you want to have a good buyer's agent working for you. Things like advice on why you put a backup offer in, how to structure a contract to give you the best possible chance to get it. It's not just as simple as scrolling sites and going to look at something and throwing a number out there.
Well, it can be as simple
sure.
as that, but you don't want it to be as simple. So agents that are pitching that and saying, yeah, okay, let's just go see something else. If an agent isn't talking to you and nuancing around the importance of these, at least introducing it as an option, you don't have to accept the option. But if you're not having this conversation, you might want to reconsider who it is, because this is important stuff. It's all about positional power and how to negotiate, and you leverage that positional power to the best of your ability, especially in a competitive market. As the interest rates tend, and they have announced, they have reduced, they have dropped, it's only going to get more competitive from here.
That's right.
If it still does go down. So again, anyone who's watching, anyone who's listening, consultation is absolutely always free. We're always here. The newsletter, if you want to subscribe, click on any of our social media pages, follow us on Spotify. Also, we have some news with our YouTube channel that I think we're going to be announcing next week, possibly.
Yeah.
So
super exciting stuff there. You just touched on something, Johnny, before we wrap up. I think that's one of the most overlooked elements of having a good buyer's agent working for you. And it really ties in directly to this topic about backup offers. There are probably half a dozen other things that we do, mechanisms we have that put our clients in the best possible position to win in a competitive offer situation. And it's one of the many reasons why you want to have a good buyer's agent working for you. Our job has changed. I've been in the business 15 years. You've been almost the same. And so it was before our time that the MLS books would get published every Monday, and agents, this is what I've been told by some of the, we'll call them legacy agents, folks who worked very hard, but it was a different business then. The clients relied on the agents to find them the house. And Monday mornings were busy in the office because the new books came out. You'd start literally flipping through the pages and calling your clients to say, hey, there's a new listing over on Main Street you might want to check out, because we didn't have the internet. Our job's different now. And finding that house, we definitely have some tools that can make that better, but that's really a small part of our job. Our job is helping put the pieces together so that your offer gets accepted, that you get to a closing, you get the house you want, and a skilled buyer's agent can do that at a very high level. I truly believe our clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, have a distinct advantage because of the way we approach the business and our negotiating ability, and things like giving advice on why backup offers, in this particular case, are important. I know I've had clients get houses that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise because of the way we structured the contract and the advice we gave. So that's the value we bring.
And not just that, I mean, it pertains to not just even contract value, but or contracting terms, but just even things. Your strong construction background, my
yours
historic
too.
preservation. Well, right. So just stuff where it's the guidance, especially in the single largest financial transaction someone's about to make. There is a ton. I mean, a boatload of anxiety that comes with this.
Sure.
And someone has to steer the ship. And you want someone who's not going to be easily riled up or flustered or when something goes wrong. Someone has to remain in constant control. And, there are times you can do everything right in this business and still lose. It's not as if...
Oh, sure.
But it's just one of those things. You maximize your potential as a buyer or even a seller. You maximize your goal set when you have someone who aligns themselves with that same vision. And not just that, just knows how to get it done if something should come up. So
we see it every day on both the buyer and the seller side. There really is an art to it, and I think it's our strong suit. So it's also the part of the business I love. Like, I absolutely love finding that angle, finding the way to structure that thing so that my client gets the win. It's really that's the thing that has us excited every day, is when we can celebrate our client getting the win.
And that's why we do these podcasts.
It sure is.
A little shameless plug. But, all right. Well, anything else you want to impose onto our audience as we're here?
No, good session, man.
Yeah.
Always love chatting about this stuff.
Well, we are planning on doing this live every Monday morning. This always goes to our Spotify channel, so if you haven't followed us there, please, it's free. Go give us a like, follow, share. It's one of the biggest things you can do to help our small business as we grow. Also, again, we talked about the newsletter, anything on social media, and we will be back next Monday with a new topic.
Are we those YouTube guys now who say, make sure to like and share, make sure to like and share?
Yeah, I think so. It's a little plug.
Except I don't think we started off with, "Hey guys,"
Yeah,
because that's what every YouTube video starts with.
Yeah, that's all I hear from my 6-year-old is subscribe to do this, or I have so many YouTube subscriptions under my personal account now. It's driving me nuts.
I think I still subscribe to some gymnastics accounts from when my kids were little, so probably should get off of those.
Anyways, we'll see you guys next week.
Take care.